God bless you, dear ones. Welcome to the Word with Chester. Today we will continue study in the second chapter of the book of 1 Kings. I do appreciate all of you for being here. I thank you so much. It is a blessing to me to know that you are with us. For the benefit of our newcomers, what we're doing is we're teaching through this Bible and reading through this Bible verse by verse and chapter by chapter. In our last lesson, in chapter 2, we read down to verse 11. Today we will begin our study at verse 12 and hopefully get to the conclusion of the chapter. It is somewhat lengthy, so I'm going to go immediately into our study today, but I do appreciate you for being here. Well, today, in our last lesson, we actually read the conclusion of David's life, where David went and slept with his fathers, and it told us how long that he had reigned in Israel, and where he reigned, because part of that time was in Judah, and for Judah only he reigned, and then 33 years he was there in Jerusalem, ruling all of Israel. So yesterday in our lesson we concluded actually the life of David, and also in our last lesson you have to remember some of the things that we talked about when David was giving counsel to Solomon as he gave him the throne, as David was stepping down, giving the throne to his son Solomon. Well, you got to get the picture. He gave him counsel and about certain people. He gave him counsel about bad eggs, and that was what we call bad eggs that were in his kingdom, and the things that he had to endure with them. And now we're going to find that Solomon is some of the things that his father had told him he's going to do in this actual reading for today. Well, shall we go into our lesson today at verse 12 of chapter 2, the book of 1 Kings? The Bible reads, "Then sat Solomon upon the throne of David his father, and his kingdom was established greatly." Can you get the picture? We'll read in times to come how great the kingdom of Solomon was. His kingdom was established greatly. Now let's read on in 13. "And Adonijah, the son of Haggith, came to Bathsheba, the mother of Solomon, and he said, Cometh thou? And she said, Cometh thou peaceably? And he said, Peaceably." Now let's find out who this Adonijah was. When David was sick, he wasn't dead at all. He was sick and had a fever. And Adonijah, he took it upon himself that I'm going to be the king. So he set himself up as king, and they went down. He called his other brothers down to where he lived, and had a feast there for them, killed lambs and killed cattle, and they had a great feast. But yet, David was strong enough because they had got the word to David what Adonijah was doing, and David appointed Solomon, and they anointed Solomon king. And here we find this same young man. He's trying to do something here. Now let's read on, 13 again. "And Adonijah, the son of Haggith, came to Bathsheba, the mother of Solomon." Came to Bathsheba. Now, this wasn't his biological mother. I guess you could call it stepmother, but David had many wives. But he came to Bathsheba because this was Solomon's mother. I'll read that again. "And Adonijah, the son of Haggith, came to Bathsheba, the mother of Solomon, and said, Cometh thou? She said, Cometh thou peaceably? peaceably. And he said, peaceably. Well, get the picture. She wanted to know if he was up to no good, or if he was coming in peace, because you got to get the picture. In that day, they would bloodthirsty. They would kill people, and so she wanted to know if he was coming peaceably. And he said, moreover, I have somewhat to say unto thee. And she said, say on. Verse 15. And he said, thou knowest that the kingdom was mine, and that all Israel set their eyes on me, that I should reign. Howbeit the kingdom is turned about, and is become my brother's, for it was his from the Lord. Can you get the picture? He's painting her this picture that he was ruling. Please excuse me. He was the king. He was ruling, and he's saying that the kingdom belonged to him, was his, but yet then he turned around and said it was given to my brother from the Lord. Now you got to get that. Anything that's from the Lord, that's the way it was supposed to be in the first place. Well, it was given to my brother. For it was his from the Lord. And that's a capital Lord. It was his from the Lord. And that means his from God. Now let's read in verse 16. And now I speak one petition of thee, deny me not. And she said unto him, say on. And he said, speak, I pray thee, unto Solomon the king, for he will not refuse thee, that he give me Abishag the Shunammite in marriage. Now let's find out. Let's talk about who Abishag was. Now, if you remember reading in the first chapter of this book, David he had a fever and he couldn't get warm, and they sent and got a beautiful virgin and brought down to David, and she went in to comfort David. Abishag was that beautiful virgin girl that she went in to comfort David. Well, the Bible said that David knew her not, although she laid in his bosom and she was there, but yet they did not have sex. This is that same girl that we're talking about. And she said, and he said, speak, I pray thee, to Solomon the king, for he will not refuse thee, that he may give Abishag the Shunammite in marriage. He wanted this beautiful lady to be his wife, so he was using this subtlety, trying to get the king, King Solomon, to give him this girl that was actually his father. She was yet a virgin, but yet she was given to his father, and she did lay in his bosom, if you please. In verse 18, and Bathsheba said, well, I will speak for thee unto the king. Verse 19, Bathsheba therefore went unto King Solomon to speak unto him for Adonijah. And the king arose up to meet her and bowed himself unto her. Well, he was the king, but he had a great respect for his mother, so he bowed himself to his mother and sat down on his throne and caused a seat to be set for the king's mother, and she sat on his right hand. Shall we continue reading? Then said she, I desire one small petition of thee. I pray thee, refuse me not. And the king said unto her, ask on, my mother, for I will not refuse thee. As we read on, and she said, let Abishag the Shunammite be given to Adonijah, thy brother, in marriage. So she was carrying out what Adonijah had asked her to do. And so here she asked Solomon now in that verse. Now, as we read on, I believe we read in verse 22. And King Solomon answered and said unto his mother, And why doest thou ask Abishag? Thou asked Abishag the Shunammite for Adonijah. As for him the kingdom also, for he is mine elder brother, even so, and for Abiathar the priest, and for Joab the son of Jeruiah. Can you get that now? Shall I read that again? Now Solomon, I guess he he went off on his mother a little bit. And the king answered and said unto his mother, And why doest thou ask Abishag the Shunammite for Adonijah? Ask him for the kingdom also. In other words, why you want to give this girl, which was my father's, to Adonijah? What are you gonna do? Ask for the kingdom to give him also? As for the kingdom also, for he is mine elder brother, even for him, and for Abiathar the priest, and for Joab the son of Jeruiah. In other words, all of these men this is my kingdom. All of these men were following him. So can you get what Solomon is saying to his mother? Shall we read on? Then King Solomon swore by the Lord, saying, God do so to me, and more also, if Adonijah has not spoken this word against his own life. In other words, Adonijah is up to no good, but yet he's doing it against his own life. Shall we read on? Now therefore, as the Lord liveth, who hath established me and set me on the throne of David, my father, and who hath made me an house as he promised, Adonijah shall be put to death this day. In other words, he's going to die this day because I see his subtlety. I see how the man operates. Can you get the picture? In verse 25, and King Solomon sent by the hand of Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, and he fell upon him that he died. In other words, they killed Adonijah, and that was actually the brother of Solomon, one of the sons of David. I talked to you and explained to you on more than one occasion that Adonijah was the brother of Absalom. And can you get, if you remember, that Absalom, he took 10 of David's concubines and went on top of the roof and had sex with all of David's concubines in front of all Israel. Can you get that picture? So this was a trait. Number one, that this man wanted one of David's women, and that would have been displayed in front of all Israel. Can you see? It angered Solomon. Solomon saw through his mess, if you please. Solomon saw through what he was doing, and he was killed. At 25 again, and King Solomon sent by the hand of Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, and he fell upon him that he died. Now get the picture. Now Solomon had someone loyal to him now. This Benaiah, he was Solomon's hitman. He would go, if Solomon said go kill him, this man would go kill him. And so that's what actually happened at that time. Now verse 26, and Abiathar the priest said the king, get thee unto Anathoth, unto mine own field, to thine own field, for thou art worthy of death, but I will not at this time put thee to death, because thou didst bear the ark of the Lord God before David my father, and because thou hast been afflicted in all in which my father was afflicted. Can you get that picture? And if you remember reading when David was preparing Solomon to take the throne, he talked about these men and let Solomon know that they would be a danger to your kingdom. And so Solomon here brought just saying to Abiathar, just plainly unto Abiathar the priest, said the king, get thee unto Anathoth, unto thine own field, for thou art worthy of death. In other words, you worthy to die. You went and followed Adonijah. In other words, you're worthy of death, and I will not at this time put thee to death. I won't do it now. I won't at this time put thee to death. Because thou didst bear the ark of the Lord God before David my father, and because thou hast been afflicted in all in which my father was afflicted. In other words, you were there with my father. That's the only reason I'm not killing you now, because you bore the ark of the covenant. Shall we read on? So Solomon thrust out Abiathar from being priest unto the Lord, that he might fulfill the words of the Lord, which he spoke concerning the house of Eli and Shiloh. Can you get the picture? Can you get the picture? Now, the sons of Eli, can you get the picture? There was a promise made way back then, and a word of the Lord made way back then during the time, and this was one of those the descendants of Eli, and the priesthood was stripped away from him by Solomon at this point. Shall I read that again? Verse 27, so Solomon thrust out Abiathar from being priest unto the Lord. He thrust him out from being priest of the Lord. Number one, he was up to no good. He was up to no good when he went down and followed Abiathar. Followed Adonijah, and Solomon thrust out Abiathar from being priest unto the Lord, that he might fulfill the word of the Lord. Fulfill the word of the capital Lord, the word of the Lord, which he spoke concerning the house of Eli in Shiloh. Well, let's read on. Let's read on in verse 28. Then tidings came to Joab for Joab. I'll read that again. Verse 28. Then tidings came to Joab, for Joab had turned after Adonijah, though he turned not after Absalom. And Joab fled into the tabernacle of the Lord and caught hold of the horn of the altar. In other words, he knew his life was in trouble, so he went in the tabernacle. Can you get that? He went in the tabernacle of the Lord and caught hold of the horn of the altar. And if you remember, this is kind of going in line with the cities of refuge. When someone had killed somebody, or then their kinfolks could avenge themselves against them. And Abiathar went into the tabernacle and caught a hold of the horns of the altar. In verse 29, and it was told King Solomon that Joab was fled into the tabernacle of the Lord, and behold, he is by the altar. And Solomon sent Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, saying, go fall upon him, go kill him, go fall upon him. In verse 30, and Benaiah came to the tabernacle of the Lord and said unto him, thus saith the king, come forth. And he said, no, but I will die here. And Benaiah brought the king word again, saying, thus said Joab, and thus he answered me. And the king said unto him, do as he has said, and fall upon him, and bury him, that thou mayest take away the innocent blood which Joab shed from me and from the house of my father. In other words, the evil that he had done, and killing innocent people. I want him killed, so that reproach won't be brought upon me and my house. Can you get the picture? In verse 32, and the Lord shall return his blood upon his own head, who fell upon two men more righteous and better than he, and slew them with the sword. The sword, let me read that again. I apologize. And the Lord shall return his blood upon his own head, who fell upon two men more righteous and better than he, and slew them with the sword. My father, David, not knowing it. In other words, he killed them with the sword of his father, and David didn't even know it at the time. Not knowing it, Abner, the son of Ner, captain of the host of Israel, and Amasa, the son of Jether, captain of the host of Judah. Now let's read on in verse 33. Their blood shall therefore return upon the head of Joab. Well, Joab killed these two men, if you remember reading. Their blood, therefore, return upon the head of Joab and on the head of his seed forever. In other words, their blood is now required of Joab and won't be required of me or my kingdom. But upon David and upon his seed and upon his house and upon his throne shall there be peace forever from the Lord. So Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, went up and fell upon him and slew him. And he was buried in his own house in the wilderness. He was buried at his own place in the wilderness. Now let's continue reading. Please excuse me. In verse 35, and the king put Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, in his stead over the host, and Zadok the priest did the king put in the stead of Abiathar. Can you get the picture? Well, it was in this administration, he was getting rid of all of those bad seed that was in the administration of his father. I hope you read that. Let me read 35 again. And the king put Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, in his stead over the host, and Zadok the priest did the king put in the stead of Abiathar. Abiathar, the priesthood was stripped away from him, and Solomon put Zadok in his place. Now let's continue reading. In verse 36, and the king sent and called for Shemaiah, and said unto him, build thee an house in Jerusalem, and dwell there, and go not forth from there anywhere. Let's read on. For it shall be that on the day thou goest out and passest over the brook Kidron, thou shalt know for certain that thou shalt surely die. Thy blood shall be upon thine own head. Now he's letting them know something here. Now the king has made a decree here in verse 38. And Shemaiah said unto the king, thy saying is good. As my lord the king has said, so will thy servant do. And Shemaiah dwelt in Jerusalem many days. And it came to pass at the end of 3 years that two of the servants of Shemiah ran away unto Achish, the son of Maacah, a king of Gath. And they told Shemiah, saying, Behold, thy servants are in Gath. And Shemiah arose and saddled his ass and went to Gath to Achish to seek his servants, and Shemiah went and brought his servants from Gath. Verse 41, and it was told Solomon that Shemiah had gone from Israel to Gath and was come again. Verse 42, and the king sent and called for Shemiah, Shimei, the son of unto him, and said unto him, Did I not make thee swear by the Lord, and admonish thee, saying, Know for certain on the day that thou goest out and walkest abroad anywhere, that thou shalt surely die, and thou said unto me, the word that I have heard is good. So Solomon is bringing up to their attention now, bringing to his attention what he said and what he agreed to. In verse 43, why then hast thou not kept the oath of the Lord, capital Lord, and the commandment that I have charged thee with? Why didn't you do what I said? In verse 44, and the king said, Moreover, to Shimei, thou knowest all the wickedness which thine heart is aware of, that thou didst to David and the David my father. Therefore the Lord shall return thy wickedness upon thine own head. Now get the picture. Shimei, somebody said maybe not be sure who this man was, but if you remember when when Absalom was trying to take the kingdom from David. Shimei was that man that was down and was cursing David. And David, they was gonna go down and slit his throat, and David said, "Don't go slit his throat." This was that same man that was saying all of those words, and he came to David when they were taking David back to Jerusalem, and David had gave him an oath that he would not, that David would not kill him. And in the conversation that David was counseling Solomon, this man's name came up, and David let him know why. Can you get the picture? And so in 44, which I will read again now, and the king said, Moreover to Shimei, thou knowest all the wickedness which thine heart is aware of, that thou didst to David, my father. Therefore the Lord shall return not thy wicked upon thy head. Shall we read hurriedly so we can finish this? And King Solomon shall be blessed in the throne of David, shall be established before the Lord forever. In other words, the throne of David, the kingdom of David will be established before the Lord forever. Now, verse 46, so the king commanded Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, who went out and fell upon him, that he died, and the kingdom was established in the hand of Solomon. Can you get this now? Solomon was doing, number one, what his daddy had told him, but yet he was also establishing his king and the kingdom of David forever, that bloodline forever. In our next lesson, we're going to discover some more things, so I trust that you will be with us. Stay with us, and the Lord will bless you. Well, my dears, I want you to know that I love you. I love you with the love of the Lord. God bless you.